Welcome to Containerized Conversations, where we try to containerize our conversation. I'm Jessica Caffarelli.
And I'm Josh Warhurst. Thanks for tuning in as we dive into some of our favorite topics, one containerized thought at a time.
Today, we have some special guests with us in the studio. Co-founders Mario and Julian of StrataNorth. How you doing, guys?
Good. Hey, guys. How you doing?
Great to be here. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us. So, for our audience members, today we have a special episode where we get to talk about what it's like starting your own company and all of the greatness that comes with it, and maybe some stress as well.
Well, we'll see.
Mario, Julian, why don't we start off? You guys started your own company from scratch. It was super easy. You did it in like 2 days. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, it all started at a diner. True story. Julian and I were catching up after just years of working on projects together. We had known each other for quite a while, and just catching up, eating some eggs and bacon, and we're like, we should start a company together. We dabbled on the idea for a few minutes, talked about a few other things, and then once we left, I remember as I walked back to my car, I pulled up my phone, I started texting him like, I was serious. Let's do this. And he responded back, I'm serious too. Let's do it. And it started that night. It was honestly probably about almost a year endeavor in just preparing and planning. And we were all gung-ho every night, thousands of hours committed to what does it mean? What did we want to be? What did we not want to be? What services we would provide. As consultants at heart, we probably over-engineered the process, to be honest. But it was a deep soul-searching experience, and we're so proud of what came out on the other side of it, to be honest.
Yeah, that's really cool. So it took you about a year to actually start formulating stuff?
We probably had an idea of what we didn't want to be pretty early on, within the first, couple of weeks, to be honest.
Yeah.
What did you not want to be?
Julie and I had a couple of decades of experience each under our belts at that time. And we saw patterns and things in other organizations and other experiences that we felt, if I was going to create a company, I don't want to become that way. Or if I was to set up a help desk, if I was to provide a book of business, what would it be? What would it not be? I think it was about 2 or 3 months into the self-exploration. We already had projects. We already had work. We didn't even have a business name.
I remember we had that and they were like, okay, time for payment. We were like, just make it out to Mario. We literally didn't even have a company name yet. So it's like a band writing songs and performing and not having a band name, A lot of people, they're like, oh, print the t-shirts, make the stickers, get the website, get the name. Yeah. We're wired the opposite way from that. We had this exercise that we wrote down all the things that we can do. And the list was massive, and everything, just like there wasn't a wrong answer, right? Just put it all on paper. And then we said, okay, well, there's hundreds of things here. What don't we want to do? What is not a service? What is a subset of a service? What is something that, so we called the list way down. We still ended up with like 80 or 90 things. And then we said, okay, some of these things are still like a category. So we did that for, I remember, weeks. And then we finally kind of categorized everything into 20 or 30 things, that was like pretty legitimate. Yeah. It was like, okay, these types of things. Then we, even by the time we went to go build the website, categorized it down even further, right? We created this is a thing that one day maybe we'll sell it. It's to needs and drivers. It was this thing that had all of the different services and things that we did that we would offer to customers. And then we had all these customer profiles based on what are the drivers of them coming to a company like us? What are their needs? What are they trying to solve? And then we had all these likelihood scenarios based on all that information. How likely are they actually going to come to us? And we just guessed, based on that. And then what we did is we prioritized those things on the website. And every year we have a strategy session and we look at what we did over the year and then we compare it to that. I think we're like 40% right, like with the first few years that we did it, which is pretty close. It was just a wild guess. So but then there were some scenarios where we were like, no company is ever going to come to us. A big company is never going to come to us to do this. And we got a gig doing it. And we're like, okay, well, we were wrong about that one. Good. That's good. Like Mario said, it was, probably a year or two before we really did anything customer facing whatsoever. So yeah, that was our initial uphill battle before it even started.
So were you guys working full time at other jobs while you were doing this?
Yeah, Julian and I have been pretty much working, I would say 80 to 90-hour weeks, full stop, for the
Mm,
last 8 or 9 years. We've always been go-getters. We knew that about each other before even getting into it. So it's more of a, I guess, a personality thing. And then once the hours of a full-time project or consulting work was offset by what the commitment was for StrataNorth, became natural. It didn't feel like, oh, I have to take a burden that I wasn't already used to, so to speak.
yeah.
And then you start seeing the fruits of your labor actually take form. And it's not even
Yeah.
just winning the projects and attracting really great talent and all that, but it's all the unique elements that came in that really has proven to us that we're on the right track. We analyze all our projects on an annual basis when we do our annual strat planning. We review the full year. When we look at projects and we nailed it, I
Yeah.
mean, it's kind of scary on how precise we nailed it.
Yeah.
I mean, even the attribute of the reason, of the possibility, of the size of the company, and what dimension we're looking at is pretty much spot on what we would predict in this matrix. It's really
Yeah.
like a work of art. And there's been some oddities along the way.
Yeah.
Julie and I have always been, again, I think this is just our personalities. We love being surrounded by smart people, people that
Yeah.
are even far superior and smarter than us. And we've been able, and I'm very grateful for it, attracting great talent.
Yeah.
That's a very rewarding experience. Those 80 or 90 hours a week are rewarding.
Yeah. And balancing and talking about balancing, I was working at a company and the woman there she was the manager. And, she kind of pulled me aside one day. I was like, hey, I'm leaving. I need you to come with me to this company. I can't do this by myself. And so I was like, okay, let's do it. I was up for the challenge. They had been, neglecting IT for a long time. And so, I told her, hey, I'm going to start my own company while I'm here. And she's like, that's totally fine. I'm on board. And the VP of technology at the time was on board. And I was like, okay. I mean, that position existed for me. It wasn't really for anyone else. And so it was a really rewarding experience. But when the time came to all right, we were getting busier and my time was getting stretched thin. She was like, all right, I think it's time, flip you to contractor. And, I never forget this. The VP was like, well, he was concerned. He's like, well, we can't lose him. Or can we just become the customer, and like he could just invoice us? And I was like, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah. If you can find the right place, some people just take the leap and they leave. Some people,
Yeah.
they've got savings. Some people take that risk. Some people get a loan, right? But we really wanted to bootstrap it, start it just on our own with our own money,
Yeah.
not minimize our risk. We had families and we had, obligations, and we're just not personally risk takers. We're not like
Yeah.
going to do some VC startup that, you put it all on the line. That's just not our style. It's not like what we want to do.
It's interesting too. I think about starting a company all the time, but one of the things I always have a hard time conceptualizing is, hey, I need to go get funding. I can't just start my own company. How do you do that without having $3 million in the bank or something like that? But you guys did it just fine.
That was one of the hard questions that we had to really dig deep right from the beginning as well. How are we going to do this, right?
Yeah.
The reason we did that whole, almost soul searching exercise of what do we want to do, what are the services we're going to provide, was actually to try to get to that point. We're very technical. We have very different skill sets. Both Jill and I come from IT, but very different sides, right? And we had some disciplines that were very complementary and some that were extreme ends of some things that I do that is completely a different language almost to what Julian's used to, and vice versa, right? We wanted to really figure out a way that we could start tomorrow, say we do X, and there would be people waving money saying, I'm willing to pay you for that service.
Yeah.
And to get ourselves out there, instead of us going and trying to get a VC or angel investors or a loan or whatever, which is the traditional routes, we realized, okay, let's use some of our own money to start the initial baseline of the company, just very basic. Yeah. And who do we know? What's our inner circle of people over the last 20 plus years each that we know that we can say, hey, I'm out in the market and I do X, Y, Z. And it's a very unique skill set. And that was really what, that's really what happened. But from a purely like how do you start a company with some money, and why don't you go to a bank or this, that? We knew we wanted to be independent. We knew we wanted to do it on our own terms.
Yeah.
We actually treated the first year as a pilot. We told each other, this is an experiment. It can completely flop. We can walk away, no harm, no foul. And when we realized that we were making money as two guys working part-time with families and full-time jobs and everything else going on, and it was profitable month over month, quarter over quarter, we're like, okay, we're on to something. It was only at the end of that 1 year experimentation, we're like, okay, well, now let's incorporate this. Let's get everything going.
Yeah, I really like that. Like slow starting into it. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people who are technical have this background in IT or in some kind of other field, and they're really good at that thing. And that thing is all they have to be good at for their career to work out, to become a senior, to become a staff, to become the head of the whole department. You just have to be really good at your skill and maybe some people management on the side. When you start a company, there's all these other skills, right? The sales, the marketing, the finance, finding customers. I feel like that's like a social thing that a lot of people don't do in their daily life. Do you find that you had to do those things? You had to hire those things? How do you navigate that? Or did you already have it and you were like, oh, tech was what I came to after sales, right?
Yeah. As far as the technical skills go, we were pretty established on that. We would reach out to people to say, let's catch up, but also saying, hey, I started this thing. The two words to anybody starting a company is no shame. You really have to have no shame about what you've done, right? And I'm not a sales guy. Anyone who knows me knows that. I am just really technical. And so for me to go to somebody and be like, hey, buy my stuff is very strange for me. But when the way that we were doing it, which was just super laid back conversations, and that's easy. I mean, I can have a conversation all day, is, oh, by the way, we're doing this thing. Oh, tell me about it. We got better at that over time, like the elevator pitch and like just explaining it as what we do. That was actually really, really hard in the beginning, is explaining what we do. We're consulting, advising, but on what? What specifically? How do you do that? And so we were practicing together just, all right, how do we say this? What is our pitch? We're trying to memorize it. And we got just better at it, just got like really organic over time, just like anything else, you get really good at it. We would have these conversations with people and they would see us getting really excited about maybe talking about some of the things we've done. And that gets them excited to think about, wow, that's really great. And so we were what we would call planting seeds. So we'd plant seeds with these people. And sometimes we'd never hear from them again, or we'd touch base in another year. But sometimes 3, 6, 9, 10 months down the road, they'd be like, my company is actually looking for someone to do that. Is that something you guys do? So just going out there in the beginning, because marketing is expensive and ads are expensive and all that. But talking to someone is basically free, And so we would just go to people that we trusted. We had a very small circle in the beginning of people that we really trusted. And we had some people that were mentors to us that we really looked up to, whether they had already started their business or they were really super established in their career, super senior. And we would just ask for feedback. Here's what we're doing. We got some wild feedback and we cataloged some of that feedback and we really analyzed it. We aggregated that data to be like, are there any trends? And we grew that circle bigger and bigger. We reach out on LinkedIn, other places, thousands of people. So we would just expand that out. And then anytime we got a lead or we got an engagement, we would really just talk about like the things that we do, the skills we have, other projects we've done, and just to plant those seeds in those people's heads. So that's really what it is. It's just having no shame. It's making sure that people know you exist. Once they know you exist and know what you can do, that's like the 90% of the work that needs to be done. The other 10% is the tech, the execution, all the delivery of whatever it is you do, where I think some people sort of have that flip where they're just so focused on the tech and the delivery and all that stuff. And they don't do the other 10%. That's me. I'm really bad at that, that the reaching out and stuff like that. Now Mario knows. Mario's good at it. I'm not that great at it, but like he pushes me to do it. And having a co-founder, like a partnership, you can kind of push each other to do that stuff.
As co-founders, you said that the skill sets that you had were sometimes complementary, sometimes off in left field. That's technical, but starting as co-founders, did you find that somebody had a different skill set with like, oh, Mario's great at talking to people, Julian's great at doing technical presentations? Was there like some kind of synergy there?
Yeah, so we both had some similarities in our past careers, but we also had some stark differences. I had already been many years ago a founder of a practice at a consulting company. I had managed hundreds of people. So I probably had a little bit more experience managing people than Julian did. But Julian had done amazing work implementing very complex technologies, like really complex. Like I'm very technical, but he's just like on a different level. My specialties are on CRM and marketing automation and knowledge management platforms, front-end applications. We usually say I'm the front of the store. Julian does everything in the back, infrastructure, email, cybersecurity. And when we say deep, we're talking about like multiple layers deep, many certifications. He's, depending on certain technologies, one of a few in the industry, thought leader in many ways, right? And vice versa, right? I'm more comfortable in certain settings. He's better speaker in other settings. So we were right from the gate. We were very honest with each other of like, I'm good at this, you're better at that. And we would really just have honest conversations like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to talk to this person, whatever. We would sit there, look at our contacts. Who do you know? How do you know them? And feed off and come up with the game plan. So we probably overthink and analyze everything. That's part of our DNA. But we found out that made us successful. Instead of us saying, you know, let's be everything to everybody all at once. Let's really hone in. Let's go really careful about this. Really plant these seeds right in the right way, and just being humble with people when we talk to them. We don't try to overimpress. I'll be honest, in the beginning it was hard because a lot of these things, even though we thought we knew what we're doing, we learned along the way. We didn't know everything, but we knew just enough. And then when we started to grow, we realized, okay, it can't be just two guys who cook, clean, chop wood, do everything. We were like every department, right? So we brought in somebody to do our bookkeeping. We brought somebody in to do our marketing and so on. We started to evolve, right? And yeah, it's been a labor of love. And the key thing is being very honest with people and bringing in the right people in, and then they're experts, empower them, but let them do their thing. We don't micromanage. We don't get in that mindset of a lot of founders where they try to control everything on the board. You really can't.
I will say too that Mario's being a little bit humble. I remember the first time he started generating all these templates, right at the beginning, because we're going to be doing consulting, advising, enterprise assessments, right? I don't even know if I even heard the word enterprise assessment like before I met Mario. So we admire each other, right? We admire each other's skills. There are a lot of things we admire about each other. But one thing I admire about him is that he is a real consultant. He worked at a real consulting company. He's a true consultant. He could walk into something and not really know much about it and consult on it by asking just the right questions, unearthing all of it. And I learned a lot of those skills by working with him. Like these reports, we would generate these reports, 100-something page reports. I had no clue what I was doing. I had no clue what I was doing with like getting those reports out the door. And he's like, oh, let's just do it like this. And he had all of these like categories and how he like just everything with those like reports that we would deliver as consultants. Like my reports would not look like that. So we'd come across as like true advisors in the end, where we have all these customer deliverables and like we bury them with information because from an advisory company, that's what you should be doing. They're paying for you to give them all these stuff. Now, the technical stuff, sure, like I got that. I can break that all down. So we piggyback off each other a lot when we're talking with customers, where he'll throw the question over to me. If it's super technical, I'll throw it over to him. We go back and forth. So we've been learning skills in, the past over many years from each other as we do these types of engagements. Some engagements, it's me solo or it's him solo. We don't really tackle it together because there's no need. But those are the skills that I've learned from him. So we do that, I think, fairly well. I mean, we built a website together. Really didn't argue even once, even over colors or fonts or anything, because one of the things that we did when we started the company was, no egos. Both of us are kind of built the same way. We really just at the end of the day want to do the thing that is best for everybody, the customer, whatever is the most efficient, whatever is going to get the job done. That's all we really care about. So we really check our egos at the door. There are things that we disagreed about, like, Mario knows that when it comes from like a design perspective, I'm really, really picky about colors and just all kinds of things. So when he was building the website, it was kind of funny because I'd be like, well, move that down 2 pixels. No, move it back, like
Pixels. Pixels.
yeah.
He would
And so,
talk to me in pixels. I'm like,
yeah.
are you serious right now?
And so, I mean, we joke around, we're kind of like brothers at this point. So, but it's that, I think that's the thing in any relationship, no matter what it is, business, personal, whatever, you really have to have that full on respect for each other. Because if you don't have that respect, and I say this to people in marriages, in friendships, and whatever it is, it starts with a full on respect of the other person, their traits, their qualities, their positives, their negatives, the things that irritate you. You have to respect the whole package. Otherwise, the chance of it working are really slim. So we started out with that, a high level of respect for each other, checking our egos at the door. And that's really what's laid the foundation for us to be able to, do the other things, get that out of the way. I've had people warn us. A guy that I trust big time, one of my friends, he's got his own, company by himself. He's like, don't do a partnership. He does taxes. And he's like, don't partner with someone, do it on your own, because he has companies that come in that are partnerships. And he goes, they fail almost all the time. I was like, well, I did partner with this guy, so we'll see how it works out. And we're still here.
The reality is most businesses fail. Overwhelmingly, partnerships fail in spades, right? Going through a sequence of quarters and staying financially viable, most fail. Most don't do that. And you'll see that with companies that start off bootstrapped with just, $100 in their back pocket, to companies who have $10 million VC funding. And it doesn't matter. You see these things and they fail, right? And I think a lot of that is the calculations of risk versus reward. What are you going to do? We've been very careful about each incremental build. For example, when we expanded our MSP services, we first started one stack. Then Julian's like, well, got to make it better. We threw it all away, restarted all over, and built it even better, right? But it's calculated decisions. It's not just, I found some new shiny toy and I'm going to go pursue that, right? We think really careful. And most importantly, on the people, right? The respect that and the way we treat each other, Julian and I, and by extension, every other consultant and employee of ours, we've been very picky who gets to be in the family, right? We could have gone gangbusters, be on the news, company goes from 2 guys to 5,000 people. But that's how things collapse, right? So we've been very careful.
Obviously, you guys have a lot of respect for each other. You could just be friends who have daily chats about tech and do independent projects. Why start your own company?
We've been in the corporate world. We've had many different types of roles. Originally, I was a software developer, went to different consulting practice, was in charge of rolling out new technologies for a marketing automation company. I was a global CSM, director of IT, all these different roles. And once you leave the corporate world and go on your own and realize you can make money doing something you actually enjoy, you can't go back. And if you can find someone else that has the same kind of ambition and mindset, and you get along with that person, and you realize you're in the same boat rowing together, and you can actually do it and be successful and make money out of it, it's awesome. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of headaches. There are good days and bad days. You don't hate that other person that's in the boat with you, you're rowing at the same pace. It's great. It feels great. And then the customer, helping the customer.
I just wanted to print shirts with a logo on it. That's why I started the company.
That sounds like you, Jesse.
Yeah. I love printing all sorts of swag for our podcast. So I feel you.
Definitely the frugal. I'm definitely the one who's like, Julian, I'm going to take the credit card away from you. That's definitely me. That's my role.
You're like, what did I buy now?
I like that shirt though, Julian, the one you're wearing. Listeners can't see this, but it's a pretty
Yeah, do you guys sell your swag or?
No, but we should.
Everything's for sale.
Maybe after this podcast, there'll be a link that they could go to. Maybe buy a t-shirt.
StrataNorth merch coming to a website near you.
Yep. So you guys had that name. You theoretically did some A/B testing, right? Like StrataNorth, Strata South. I don't know what you went with, but theoretically, what does the name mean? How'd you come up with it?
I could tell you this. There were a lot of other names. We landed on a few names before this one. And just know every name is taken. Every domain name is taken. Every name is taken. Don't even try. I think in the beginning we had all these different names. We go, oh, that's really good. And then we Google the domain name. It's taken. We wanted something unique because, well, for a lot of reasons, right? You want to stand out on the internet. I don't remember how we got Strata.
It was a combination of words. We had a matrix of words.
This was before GPT, by the way, which would have helped immensely. I mean, they had some like name generators online and stuff like that. But so I remember we found the word Strata, and that was something that really gravitated with us. And we'll talk about the meaning in a second. And then we had the word North, and actually, I think we had landed on the word North as like something we wanted, right? And we knew we were going to have to like coin something and put it together and make something unique. It was like we kind of had all these words scribbled on paper, and we tried all these different things. I remember I looked at the page and I was like, what about StrataNorth? And then he was like, yeah. And then we started Googling it, and we found a company in Australia called StrataNorth. It just says, I think they do something with real estate or land development or whatever. And they had the .com. And we're like, once we heard the name, we were like, that's it. That's the name. We're like, and we had all this meaning behind it. And I'll let Mario talk about that. But like, we were like, all right, well, the .co is available. And then I remember we reached out, like you can go via the brokers, right, to go buy the name. And we never heard back from them. And they still haven't. So if they have to listen to this podcast, we're still interested in buying the .com. They weren't even using it for email. They didn't have it on a domain. It's just like they bought it and parked it, so they had it.
Yeah, so this was probably the hardest thing believe it or not, the hardest thing we had to do of all the things we've gone through was picking a name. It was months. And it got to a point that we even both got frustrated with the process. But I had 3 clear rules that we both agreed to going into it. Number 1, the name had to have meaning. I didn't want just some gobbledygook. Number 2, no matter what, we couldn't get offended with each other for turning down an idea that the other had, right? That was the other rule. And the third rule was you will only know that it's the name that we should go with when we both look at each other like, yep, that's it. You're going to know. It's like when you buy a home. It's like when you ask someone to marry you. You just know it's that. Oh my God, we went from everything from Greek mythology to Japanese to, I'm Portuguese myself, to we had all these like naval words and every language. We were looking things up in Persian. We found like gobbledygook words that we liked. We're like, wait a minute, let's check through all these different translations to make sure we don't pick a name or a word that sounds good in English, but it's offensive in another culture. It was exhaustive. You're right, Julian. We landed on North. We know we wanted North, and we always had an idea of something like a compass or an arrow being part of the logo because it had this connotation of, being your North Star, leading you forward. North also has a connotation in consulting to be advancing yourself in a strategic way. Something pointing north is always something that's a dominant presence of leadership and strategy.
We're also based in the Northeast, right? So that was the other part. And also, we both really like mountains. And so the imagery of a mountain and like exploration and like the north, and that also had a piece of it. So there was a lot of meaning, just the word north right there.
Just north, yeah. So that one stuck right out of the gate. And then we went through 75,000 other words that could sound good with the word north in it. And Strata, when he said it and we looked it up, and it was, the striations of layers of rock and how strata is built over time, and it's a very stable structure. And we just felt that's it right there. As a consulting company, and remember, originally we were just purely advisory consulting. We didn't do MSP services yet. We just felt like this is it. This is the name, and it was instant. We said it out loud. We looked at each other like, that's it, and just book it. And it was months later. It was unbelievable. Yeah.
And we, and it also tied back to like the mountain theme of the layers of rock. And being advisors, we have to pull back the layers, to understand what's happening. It comes from the Latin word stratum, and it is about the layers. So we would peel back the layers, and also had the solid foundation, which we provide companies, right? That is to give them that peace of mind. And also it sort of sounded like stratosphere, again, going to the north, like stratosphere upwards, right? So there was just a lot of pieces of string that connected with all the meaning, and it just, and we liked this, how it rolled off the tongue and everything like that. And so then later we had to come up with a logo, which was also its own endeavor.
I'm on your website right now. For our listeners at home, stratanorth.co, link in the description. And I'm looking at the mountain, and I want to climb that mountain. That's you guys did a good job with that branding. You started off with consulting and then started working in an MSP. Now, I want to dive into that because I actually don't really know the difference between what is consulting and what is an MSP. In my mind, consulting is like you do work for a client, they pay you money, and you kind of keep consulting with them. And MSP stands for managed service provider, right? So
Yeah.
what's the difference?
I'll take the consulting piece. Julian will answer the MSP side. People ask us, what is consulting with you guys? What's different? So we call it IT advisory, and one of the ways we explain it is we solve business problems through a technology lens. We are incredibly proud of being agnostic, independent. We have very blessed to have amazing partners. If anyone's listening to us that's a partner of ours, thank you. We have service providers, technology providers, etc. And they're awesome, but we are very independent. We solve problems irrespective of what technologies are on the ground or what technologies we believe will solve the issue. We don't have kickbacks from third parties or technology partners. We're not pushing any particular direction because there's hidden incentives. We come in, we try to understand what is the business about. We have all these different methodologies, battle tested, proven ways of how to look at problems.
Yeah.
Some of these come from what I would consider to be industry best practice, but where we add our unique flavor to it is our own experiences. The stuff we consult in, we know, like we really know these solutions. And we solve it from a very pragmatic way, always with a security focus. Consulting is really just that. At the end of the day, we're either solving a problem or we're making some recommendations. There's usually a report, and the client is looking for that sage knowledge, etc. Right? What comes after is where, okay, well, maybe it's something we can help you with, something maybe we pull in a partner, maybe it's something we just give you and the client does it themselves. The MSP side is a bit different. And Julian, I'll pass that over to you.
The advisory that we do, there is no defined stack. Yes, we have our technologies that we work with, we have our expertise, but we'll step into something that we fundamentally can consult on, but maybe we don't have a ton of experience in. That usually doesn't happen. We usually have experience with those things, but we could be part of those conversations because we know the questions to ask, right? In that real capacity, we could do the research. But on the MSP side, we have a defined tech stack. We're just like every other MSP in that regard. We have, everything from email security to endpoint security to, backup tools, network management. We got, ticket system. We've got, password vaults. We've got the full stack. It's basically for a small, mid-sized business, it's everything that you would need to run your company from a technology standpoint. And so we have people that support it. We have people that manage that stuff. Yes, we absolutely give recommendations on things that need to get done on the MSP side, but it's a management. It's a monthly, recurring subscription that people pay for. And we give them all of the support that they need to solve the problems, the business problems. That's fundamentally the real difference between those two is that, the MSP really has that monthly recurring subscription. So the other thing that's different is we also resell stuff on the MSP side as well. We don't do that on the advisory side. We don't sell anything. We're agnostic. So one of our providers is Pax8, right? We use the Pax8 marketplace. They're specific for MSPs. They resell only MSP products. A follow-up question people might be thinking is, what is an MSP product? So let's say you have 50 customers, 20 customers, 100 customers. You want to be able to manage all your customers in one tool. You want that multi-tenancy. An MSP product will have that multi-tenancy where you log into the product, you can see all of your customers. That's really what defines that. Ingram Micro sells a bunch of stuff. CDW sells a bunch of stuff that you can buy. But Pax8 is everything they do. In order to even be in their marketplace, you have to have multi-tenancy, and they won't let you in unless your product has multi-tenancy because they're so focused on MSPs. And they also have a lot of other workshops and trainings for MSPs, how to market as an MSP, how do you do your finances as an MSP. So they're very, very focused, on MSPs. So we are lucky to have partners like that where it just makes that transition a lot easier because that didn't always exist. That's another fundamental difference. If someone wants to come to us with like, hey, I want to buy a Copilot license, we actually are spinning up a public storefront where they can buy that. It's through the Pax8 marketplace, but when they go there, they go to StrataNorth and like, I just want to buy a Copilot license, and they just get billed. So we'll do that. So it's kind of like this now. MSPs are starting to become just VARs, to resell stuff like that. So that's kind of the fundamental separation.
Interesting.
I feel like we should have you guys back for another whole episode on MSPs because I feel like there's a lot there, and
it is. It's complicated.
We are not
world,
the experts there, so
no, definitely not.
We shockingly we actually get a lot of business from other MSPs who get stuck, and we have very specific experts, and we're blessed that way. And they say, well, do you know someone that does XYZ? And we're like, yeah, sure. And So we get actually a lot of work from other MSPs.
I would say that if we come back, the thing that I'm going to talk about ad nauseum is our tech stack, because number one, I built it, and number two, I think it's one of the best.
Yeah. Well, I definitely think we should have a more tech, in-depth episode. I think that could be our next one for sure. For our listeners out there who do want to start a company, who are thinking about it, who, are like, I want to do this. I want to do this. You have any tips for them?
Yeah, I think we could each take turns and giving a short list of, because I think we probably have similar opinions, but maybe some few other tidbits. I think starting a company is very much like that old adage that everybody should work in the service industry in some way, waiting tables. It's an experience you should have. It's going to humble you in many ways. You should go into it with the mindset that the odds are against you, but the rewards are immense. And you have to go into it with this attitude that experiment with it. So you shouldn't start a business unless you're fully ready to come out on the other side losing it and it going horribly wrong. It has to be the first year at least, right? And you really need to crawl before you run. No matter, I know there's a lot of people out there, with MBAs and all these great books and all these mentor classes of you can become a millionaire in 6 days and all this stuff. And some people make it. Some people have those amazing models where it just pans out. But if you want to build something that's lasting, it's got to mean something to you. It can't be a get-rich-quick scheme. And it's got to be something you're willing to go through the sacrifice, full well knowing that it's going to take an insane amount of your time to even break even, let alone make any kind of successful outcome on the other side of it. It's a labor of love. And those are the companies, I think, that make it through all the challenges and odds and statistics, let alone become great companies. So that's my opinion from that.
Awesome. That's good. That's good tips.
Yeah. I'll add this, is that you, as someone who's starting something like a business, you're typically starting something new, something you've never done before. So you really need to shed that fear of the unknown. There's a difference between preparing, which you want to do, and being paralyzed because you're just not sure what's going to happen. And a lot of people get stuck in that first stage where they're like, well, what if it doesn't work out? And like Mario said, is like, you just be prepared to fail. You're always thinking about all the stuff that can go wrong. That's kind of your job as a business owner. You're the one worrying, right? Because you own it. Tying into that is trial and error is great. You really need to be comfortable with just trying something and seeing what happens. An important part of that is measuring it. Don't just try something and then you don't know if it worked or not, right? So I know when we were preparing for this, I read a ton of books. One of them is the Phoenix Project. I know you guys are a big fan of that one. But also anything by Eric Ries, like the Lean Startup, any of that stuff, like incredibly influential. And read all these books to just get exposure to what does it mean to be in a world of uncertainty, which all of those are. When you're starting out as a company, really, I cannot speak highly enough about Eric Ries, but having an MVP, having something that is a minimal viable product, having that ability to be agile, right? Have an innovation diary where you can keep track of the things you tried. Mario has a friend that started out as a business and he completely pivoted to this product now that he sells that is like this business playbook idea. And it's great. I mean, I've read the book. It's awesome. It's one of his friends that built this business, but he did it internally at his own company and realized, wow, this is something I could totally sell, pivoted, and now that's his main gig, right? So even stuff like that, where we started out, being advisors, even just taking on the MSP stuff, right? Which was kind of a little bit of a pivot as an expansion, but we decided if we wanted to pivot to something else, we could. No harm, no foul. We could walk away and go do another thing, whatever it is. So starting a company, being open to new ideas, taking in every idea that someone gives you, running it through your own filter, really, instead of being like, well, why would I do that? You really should ask, well, why wouldn't I do that? Like, what's the harm in just trying that out, right? It's really about making sure that there is no bad idea. Just try whatever you can try and accept the results, measure, track, and then try something else, until something really takes off, whatever it is.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wow. One of the big tips that you talk in there is measuring. measuring
Yep.
what works. Because Josh and I talk about this on other episodes too, where companies never do measure what's going on and if things are doing well. Yeah.
It's silly.
I mean, being data driven, you get some really great power in it. Well, I mean, this was a fantastic conversation, guys.
Thank
I'm really glad that you guys decided to join us. Before we close out, is there something you want to tell the audience members?
Thanks for having us on. This has been great.
It's been great.
One of the things that I'll leave your listeners with is I think much of our success has been that we never say no. Doesn't matter the challenge, doesn't matter how much we think a particular engagement or client is going to be needing our service or something we need to learn new or pull in on a new connection, whatever it is. And we're grateful for every single interaction. So folks reached out like, want to be on a podcast? We don't say no. We're always there. And that I think that's a testament for us to just our personalities. So if you want someone in your corner, either as an MSP or as an advisor, or even just someone to just network with or be part of that inner circle, we'll never say no. You can reach out to us, and we're there.
We're with our customers for the long haul. So we're not there just to pull a lever and make some money and do a project. We're really there for the long haul. We're trying to be the advisor for the life of the company. Same with our MSP customers, same exact thing. We're there for the long haul. We really do make a relationship of it. We spend an enormous amount of time trying to understand our clients, their needs, and how we can deliver on that. So it's all behind the scenes. Our customers don't really see that until we are in front of them. We know them extremely well. I mean, we build customer playbooks and all kinds of stuff that really define like what our customers mean to us and how we really should be interacting with them. So we really do take it to another level, no matter what the customer is. And we'll give it to every customer totally straight, no matter what it is. If we're on an engagement that is, a collaboration engagement, Mario likes to say, I like to jiggle the handle all my way down the hallway. I'll make sure that we're security focused. I will come to a customer and go, just so you know, I know this isn't part of the engagement, but I also did this and you really want to get that addressed. So we try to squeeze as much value into every single engagement we do. So with that all I have to say, I would say check us out on the web, StrataNorth.co. Check us out on social media at StrataNorth everywhere. And drop us a line, at our website or anything on social media, on LinkedIn. If you need anything with really technology, you just want to ask questions, you get some questions about anything, just, reach out.
And I got to say, Jesse, you were right that their website has an amazing picture of mountains.
And that was our containerized conversation. I'm Jesse Caffarelli.
I'm Josh Warhurst. Have a great night.